Hey everybody, my name is Jillian Haun and I'm with the Beauty Project. The Beauty Project is exploring people's different views of what beauty it is to them and what it is that makes them beautiful. In this version of the Beauty Project, I'm interviewing people that work inside of the beauty industry, asking them kind of personal questions about why they chose to be in our industry and their journey and what it means to them and what it is that makes them beautiful by choosing to be a part of it and just existing as a human being. In this version, I get to talk with Tracy Freeman, and she was recommended by another person that I interviewed, and it was really exciting to me talking to someone that I didn't know. And Tracy Freeman, she works for Aveda in Ohio, and it brought me so much light and joy speaking with her. She's an educator and a stylist and textured artist and a kind human being. And it brought me so much joy to talk with her and get to hear her perspectives and her vulnerability and her just the way she speaks. And I'm so excited to share this interview with you, and I hope you enjoy.
Hi, Tracy. Thank you so much for joining us with the Beauty Project. I want you to introduce yourself and tell us where you work and what you're up to.
Perfect. My name is Tracy Freeman. I currently work at Square One Salon and Spa, and we are located in Ohio. We have 6 locations. So we have 2 in Columbus, 2 in Dayton, and 2 in Centerville, Ohio. So I've been at that salon for about 14 years now, and I've been in the industry for about 25. So this year marks my 25th year in the industry, which I think is an awesome milestone. In addition to working behind the chair, I work for Aveda Corporate. We are an Aveda concept salon. So working for Aveda Corporate, I am you're known as a hair color professional, and also I'm a textured artist. So what I do is I go out into the field and I teach hair color, and I also teach texture to students, salons, private classes. We do stuff on stage. We're part of the big Aveda shows and things like that. So I am part of a team of people who bring all that to the masses.
Wow, what a pleasure to be talking to you. My heart just like lit up when you said 25 years in the industry. I'm
Yeah.
curious how you got started.
I got started on not knowing I wanted to do this. I was living in California at the time, and I was modeling out there. So I was on the other end of the spectrum. I was receiving all the beauty stuff, and I could always do hair and makeup. I've been doing, my own hair since I was 10 years old. And I would go to a salon and have, people cut my hair, color my hair. But every time I would go in, the guy that I was seeing, he kept saying, "What are you doing to your hair?" And I said, "What do you mean?" "I'm in this, and I'm doing this for a long period of time, but never in my wildest dreams did I think it was going to be 25 years. But I still love it." So then the opportunity came to do other things outside of the salon. And that's where becoming an educator, where now I found another passion, teaching. Teaching what I learn, teaching what I know, because every day we're constantly learning. And that's one of my mantras that I always say, learning never ends. So I'm constantly learning from my clients, from other stylists and things of that sort. But I'd like to share information. And number one, because I do both types of hair. I'm doing straight hair, then I'm also doing textured hair. So I have the opportunity to share my perspective of both sides. So it's awesome. Awesome, awesome.
Oh, wow,
Yes.
so great. Absolutely.
Yes.
What does beauty mean to you?
Beauty to me is power.
Mm.
um, have the power to change someone's life, someone's look, um, become a day maker. Oftentimes we have people who sit in our chair that they're not having the best of the day. And so then what happens is we become their therapist, their doctor, their nurse, their priest, um, everybody, we become everybody to them. And so I think we have the power to change someone's life at that brief moment, be it an hour, be it 2 hours, however long they're in our chair. I just think beauty just means power. Yeah.
Mm. That's great. I heard you say that you were a model.
I did back in the day.
That's
And that
fun.
was always just a dream of mine. I bought my first Vogue magazine at 10, and I think that's when I started getting into hair and fashion. And because I'm 5'10", so I'm tall, 6'3" with heels on. So I was very skinny, and I'm looking in the magazines, and there weren't a lot of women of color like me, but there were few. And I said, God, why can't I do this? So at the time I was like, well, again, let me try anything once, and went to modeling schools, kind of pursued it a little bit, and then ended up moving to California. But at that time I had a daughter, so I didn't want to travel with her like to Europe and to do all those big things. So I kept it more local and just did a lot of work in California, which for me, it satisfied me, but it also led me into this industry that I'm in now, you know.
I hear a lot of just saying yes to life and opportunity, and you saying like just try anything once, and that's really inspiring to me. um, I have a lot of story around the media and the fashion industry and all of that, and I want to know more about your self-esteem being a model. What was that like?
It was challenging and difficult because you have, a pocket full of girls who, again, didn't look like me. Therefore, and not that I can say there wasn't racism going on, but there was, and you have the ones who, because they knew someone, they got in. And I had a situation like that where I I knew someone, and I visited an agency before, and the agency turned me down. But when I walked in with that person, it was like, oh, who's this? Who are you with? And I'm like, and that was my first inclination of what the industry was about. And it was all about who you know at the time. So again, that can mess with someone's self-esteem big time. But I know me, and I kind of exude a little bit more confidence, and I'm not a pushover, and I don't let anybody walk all over me, and I voice. So I'm going to speak up. Um, Sometimes it gets me in trouble,
I can
but
relate.
I'd rather my voice be heard instead of sitting back silent. So oftentimes I would think, oh, I'm going to have low self-esteem because I'm so tall and all of these things, but I didn't. The only thing I think I had self-esteem was back in high school. I had acne really bad. So from seventh grade up until my junior year in high school, I was like a walking zit. So once I became a senior in high school, um, and doing old school remedies that my great grandmother showed me, I cleared up my skin, got my face together, started reading more magazines, started dressing different, and was getting noticed. So I think that kind of helped with my self-esteem, and people were encouraging, say, you should model, you should model, you should do this. So that helped me in that aspect.
Wow. Yeah, high school is so hard. I love that. I mean, I don't love that you experience having acne and all of that, and it's so relatable, right?
Yeah. But even with that, with acne and skin care, even this beauty industry, I even talk to my guests and students that are in my class, and I always tell them, I said, you're a plant. It's like you're a plant, you're a flower, you're a tree. You have to treat yourself with care and such. So you have to water yourself, drink lots of water. because you know your hair are your limbs, your leaves, your petals, you know your nails or you know could be your branches, you know. So a lot of hydration and moisturizing and things like that. So I encourage that with a lot of my guests and a lot of students, because I'm like, you have to work from the inside out in order to make everything beautiful.
Yeah, physically and emotionally as well, right? Like there's a lot of inside work just on our emotions and how we show up in the world as well, that helps us radiate that beauty and show up in the world.
Absolutely. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
What was it like? I mean, I don't know how old your daughter is, but
My
what was
daughter's
it?
37.
Okay, so so what was it like being a mother and you know, at a young age for her? And see, what is my question? There's like this, because I'm not a mom, and I have a great relationship with my mom and what she's taught me about beauty and how to show up. And so I'm
Mhm.
curious, like, what is that like being a mother and being someone in the beauty industry?
Well, I'm her role model. So everything I do, she watches. And I'm also a grandmother. So I have a 5-year-old granddaughter who watches everything that I do. So my daughter is in the beauty industry as well. She does nails. And she's getting ready to open her own nail salon. So now she's becoming a businesswoman. But I would say she watched everything that I did. I mean, she can do hair just like me. She does nails. So because she was in that atmosphere, she picked up all those traits. Now we have this next generation with my granddaughter who is doing the same thing. And I think it's so funny. Every time I come to see her or I'm coming to pick her up, the first thing she does, and you'll see my head, she does this to me. She checks me out up and down. And then she starts complimenting. Oh, I love your shoes. I love your dress. I love your earrings. And that is how she is now. So my daughter tells me anytime I'm coming to get her, she gets dressed up. So she wants to put on a dress, she wants to put on accessories because she thinks that's the norm. That's how you're supposed to look. So I think we are teaching her and other generations that, you know, keep yourself together because you just never know what opportunity is going to come your way. You just never know. So we're on the path to making her the next Beyonce. Because she sings, she dances, she does all that stuff. So I just encourage everything that she does. And I always tell my daughter, I said, whatever you see her attracted to, and she's kind of going in that direction, encourage it because you never know what it may lead to. That may be her passion, you know? Yeah,
Yeah, what an honor that we have as human beings to teach each other.
absolutely. Yeah, I think that's great. I think it's kind of what we're meant to do. Culturally, you have to think about coming from my perspective, being a Black woman. There are things in my culture that, you know, I still pass on to my daughter that I learned from my mother and my grandmother and my great grandmother. So there's a lot of things within that culture that I'm using today, especially in teaching, you know, my daughter and my granddaughter. So I think that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I want to hear more about you being a Black woman in our beauty industry, especially this day and age.
Well, I currently work in a salon where there are only 2 Black hairstylists. The rest of them are white, which is no big deal to me. I do both types of hair, and I got in this beauty industry to do hair. I don't care what your skin color is. I don't care what your hair texture is. I just got in the industry to do hair. So for me, there were some challenges initially because I would get a lot of women, especially white women, who would look at me and the question would be, can you do my hair? Because the flip side would be, I can ask them, well, can you do my hair? You know, but I never wanted to be put in that situation. I wanted to be able to do everything. So I'm not a departmentalized stylist. So I cut, I color, I style, I do everything. So for me, I don't think any of my clients really see me as a Black woman. They see me, but they don't look at it as, oh, this is a Black woman doing my hair. They just look at me, this is a woman doing my hair. I've dealt with some racism in the salon before. A quick story where there was a woman who was a walk-in. She wanted to get her hair highlighted. And mind you, I'm a hair color educator. This is what I do. I teach it. So my boss was at the front desk and checked her in and said, Tracy, take good care of you, and she'll give you what you want. So in introducing myself to her, I extended my hand and I said, hi, I'm Tracy Freeman. I'll be servicing you today. She did not want to shake my hand. She just kind of looked at me kind of sour and everything, which my take on it is, if you felt that way, then maybe I shouldn't have been the one to service you. But at that point in time, it could be she had no other choice. So I went ahead and I serviced her. And there was no conversation. We talked a little bit about what she wanted, but that was it. I really didn't get to know her, and she didn't get to know me as a person. So at the end of the service, we walk up. I thanked her for coming in. My boss was there, said that her hair looked great, and everything. And her whole attitude was this, and I'm like, wow. So I've had to deal with that, but for me, it doesn't break me. That just makes me stronger. I just know when she walks out the door, someone's gonna say, who did your hair? And she could lie about it, of course, but again, there's gonna be the compliment because I did a good job. Because right now we have Black Lives Matter going on, big time. And I can even share this because I was just being vulnerable. I'm being vulnerable.
Yeah.
Last week, we have signs in our window, and it's just basically referencing Black Lives Matter, but it's also saying listen, learn, speak up, and just have a voice. Well, we have big open windows in our salon, and there's a stoplight. So there was a little lady, old lady, she had to be in her 70s, that decided to flip us the bird, like just flipped us the bird. And I think when I saw that, it just kind of it took me out, and I ended up having a meltdown. I was so upset, and I think I was hurt by that, because here I am looking at, someone that is my grandmother, or it could be my mother's age, and having this type of hate, in her mind, to do something like that. So for me, I just had to take a moment, and I went in the bathroom, I had a good cry, and my questions has always been like, why? Why is there so much anger? Why is there so much hatred towards, Black people, where no one knows me from Adam? Get to know me. I think I'm a fantastic person. But I just think culturally and generation, it's a taught action. Hate is a taught action. So if you have that parent who is hating a Black person for whatever reason, that's what they're teaching their children. And so then it trickles down. So there doesn't become solution, it always becomes a continuous problem, because nobody's going to change it. So that was just my day that I finally kind of got out of that slump. My husband brought me flowers, because I called him, of course, and he brought me flowers to the salon, and that really just kind of uplifted me a little bit, because I knew he had my back. But just saying that it's unfortunate in this climate, that we have people that are still, thinking that way and in that mindset. And it's just disappointing, very disappointing. So at that moment I was hurt, but I'm smiling today, and I'm much better today, because I just look at the positive, and I look what I can bring to the table just to make the change. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for your vulnerability and sharing both those stories.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm wondering what else the response was in the salon for other stylists and the people that were in there.
Everyone was kind of taken aback by it. And I think their concern was me, because as strong as I am, I never cry. I never break down. That doesn't happen. And at the 14 years that I've been there, I had one of my coworkers who, she had been there just as long as me. And she's like, I knew you were hurt because I've never seen you cry. She's like, you're the strongest person I know. So at that moment, I think it was a lot of pent up anger, pent up aggression, a lot of stuff I was holding in, and I probably should have let it out a long time ago. But, you know, when you're at work, you want to save face. You know, it's not about you. It's about that guest that's sitting in your chair. You know, let me be the day maker and service them and make sure that they're good. I'm not even concerned about myself. So at that point in time, everybody was concerned, you know, about me, and that was good. That was good to have. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ah, I have so much inside of me that's like just my own education about Black hair and ethnic hair is like, I got zero
Yeah.
education. I mean, I remember in school, which was, you know, it's in Reno where I went to school, and it's predominantly white. My education on Black hair was basically how to make it straight and to relax it. And yes, there's that piece of my own responsibility of continuing my education. And I've done a little bit of it, but, you know, if I'm totally honest, like I really haven't done a whole lot. Like I love styling, and I'm not much of a colorist, and I love hair cutting. And like there was all these other things that I was focusing on of learning. And so for me, when I look back at that of my own education and just looking at the structure, right, of beauty school and how that was for me, it makes me pretty upset. And, you know, there's nothing I can do about it now. And now it's like, well, there's so much possibility, and I love the conversations that are happening now and all the education, especially online. Like, what do you feel like is needing to shift and change, like in the schools itself?
I'm so glad that you brought that up, because me working with Aveda, we have now created a new texture curriculum that is going to be launched into the schools, all the Aveda schools, not any other brands like, you know, maybe a Paul Mitchell or something like that, but Aveda across the board is bringing a brand new texture curriculum to the schools. It is going to cover curly, coily, wavy hair. It's going to color cutting, styling, and hair color. We focus on the different textures from 3A, 3B, 3C, 4A, 4B, 4C. We talk about styling in the natural curl pattern, not straightening all the time, no relaxing, no chemicals. Because now we're in a natural hair care movement where a lot of women are stepping away from the chemical. And a lot of it has to do with how it's affecting their hair, how it's affecting them physically, because it is a sodium hydroxide chemical. So this big curriculum is going to be launched in the next like month or two. What is this? It's about to be July. In August, we're gonna launch it, and we are just gonna focus on that. As I said before, I'm an educator, so I have been teaching texture classes within the Aveda network. So Allison, my friend who you spoke with, I was one of her teachers and teaching her when she was an educator at the Institute, you know, the texture curriculum. This one is broader, bigger. It covers every spectrum of textured hair. We have a glossary of verbiage, words, things that people say, things that are great descriptives of the hair itself, or things that we say culturally in the Black community that maybe a white person doesn't understand. And then we have product usage. So where the products are mirrored to what to use on that particular hair texture, that hair type, and then the styling aspect. So it's a very, very big project. There are 5 of us that are on the texture team right now. And we are currently, and that's why I was saying I was busy doing all these other Zoom calls and stuff. And I have one tomorrow and one on Wednesday and then one in the next couple weeks. So it's just a lot going on. And I'm super, super excited because I felt like this was a long time coming. And because we look at Aveda as a white hair care brand, I love the fact that now they are transitioning and not just being known as that, as a white hair care brand. They're going to be known as a hair care brand. So we've got new products, shampoos, conditioners, styling products, everything that's going to work with this new texture curriculum. So I'm so excited.
I'm so excited too. This is great.
Yeah.
I imagine that they've been working on this for some time.
It has probably been in the making for 10 years.
Wow.
And in that 10-year span, or I can even say longer, longer than that, I've been in the Aveda network and as an educator for 20 years or so. So I know when I started, I was like, where's the representation of textured hair? So you had a pocket here, a pocket there. They had a little bit of products, but now this team of us, we have gone in and we said, hey, this is exactly what you need, because we're looking at $1 billion beauty brand or industry with Black hair care, where it's $1 billion industry. And oftentimes the products that are being used aren't, I won't say they're not great, but sometimes they could have adverse reactions. Too much alcohol can make the hair drying. Not enough hydration and moisture can dry out the hair. Even with what they're using to make the product. Maybe too much water if you look at the product ingredients, because we know the first ingredient in the product, that's the bulk of it. So with us being a certified organic and natural hair care brand, I think it is going to be very powerful in bringing that aspect to a lot of women who are wanting something for their textured hair. So excited for this. So yeah, it's been in the making for a while. And so now in the past, I guess, 4 years now, I think they have finally jumped on the reins and said, hey, this is what we're going to do. And we're really going to put our best foot forward in it.
Yeah, I find it fascinating that it's being launched now.
Yeah, yeah.
And like, was that planned, or was there like a sense of urgency?
No, it was planned. This is the time that it was planned to launch now. And when COVID happened, it kind of put a damper on everything, because myself and the team, we were creating everything last year, like back in September, October. So we were starting the makings of it. And had COVID not happened, it probably would have been launched a little sooner. But because it happened, we couldn't get back together. We couldn't get back together and brainstorm. So everything was on Zoom or an email or a text or something like that. So now you've got everyone in Aveda corporate and the higher ups are putting together and just doing it and creating it. So we're really, really excited about it.
Great. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the ripple effect that,
Yeah,
that making that stand and putting that education out there.
absolutely.
It excites me, like just having the resources, and it inspires me.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yes.
I'm curious about how COVID and the shutdown affected you as a hairstylist.
Well, it put a big damper on us financially, but I think the biggest challenge was a lot of people, we were able to file for unemployment. We were off work for 2 months. So some people weren't able to get on and file for unemployment. One of my coworkers, he ended up getting a job at Kroger and was working part-time at Kroger until, he could come back in the salon. But, he had just bought a condo and he's got bills to pay. So I think the shutdown kind of put a damper on a lot of people, but I don't think it broke anybody's spirit. I think for me, I didn't mind having the time off because I was always traveling. I was always going somewhere, working behind the chair and then leaving that on that Saturday, to fly somewhere to teach. So to have that time off was a lot of time to reflect, and a lot of time to just, work on projects within the house and, things like that. So once we got back in, it was funny when our governor announced, hey, we're opening up May 15th. My phone started blowing up. It was 30 seconds after the governor said something. And people were like, can I book? Can I book? And I was like, give me a moment. I said, I've got to hear from my bosses. Like, what is the protocol? So they did an awesome job of how they set up the salon. We are 6 feet apart, so there's social distancing. Each person that comes into the salon gets their temperature taken. We read a list of symptoms that they may have from COVID. They have to wear a mask, so all of us are wearing masks in there. We have dividers in our shampoo area so that the shampoo chairs, everyone is divided as well. So I think now, and it's funny to say that now we're getting back to some normalcy. And the way that the salon is moving and the cycle of it. The first couple weeks we were just jam-packed because everybody wanted to come in and get a service. But now that we're in the thick of it, everybody's doing pretty well with it. And I think we've kind of adapted to what we need to do just to stay safe. We had maybe 1 or 2 guests, and we weren't sure if it was COVID or not that had passed away. We're thinking that it was because of upper respiratory problems or bouts of pneumonia and things like that. But other than that, there was nothing, no other detrimental things happened to anybody, which is great.
Wow. Yeah. Do you feel like it feels like that same like inspiring kind of environment, even though there's like this elephant in the room, I guess?
Well, it's hard. It's hard because, we are visual people. So when you have a mask on, you can't see anyone's expressions. All you can see are their eyes. And what I'm doing is I'm paying more attention to that because looking from here up, raised eyebrows, how the eyes are looking. If somebody starts getting teary-eyed or something like that, then you can kind of see where the emotion is. But I think that's the challenge right now is like, you feel so disconnected from people and you cannot, you can't see them, there's a conversation, but how much are we going to talk through those masks before we start getting, overheated and things of that sort. And now when we can't double book. So if I did a color on someone, I can't sit them over on the sofa and let them process while I do someone else. They have to stay in my chair, but I can't stand there with them. So then there becomes that disconnect. So I think there's some distance there. The vibe just isn't the same, but it is still the same because you have a core group of people still come in and the conversations are still the same. They're still talking and talking and talking through their mask, but there are others, especially when it's a new guest. I don't know what they look like. And then if it's a new guest and I'm cutting their hair and maybe they want it to be a certain length around the face, I'm like, and I don't like doing this, but it's like, I kind of need to see your face to see what face shape we're doing for his haircut. So I have them just kind of lift up quick and put it back down just so I can get a good peek, just so I can see that. But I think that's the hardest thing is there's such a disconnect, because you really can't see anybody. And that's the first thing my guest said to me, oh, I can't even see you smile. I said, yeah, you can't. I said, I'm smiling through the mask,
I'm smiling with my eyes.
Smiling with my eyes, I'm smizing.
I used to watch America's Next Top Model, and I always remember Tyra talking about smiling with your eyes. Like, it's just like a funny memory I have from, I don't know, like 10, 15 years ago.
Yes. Absolutely. So funny.
Yeah. So I heard a lot of like once it was announced, like in Ohio, it's like the governor was like, okay, you're good to go. There was like this like, oh my gosh, yes, like want to get my hair done, da da da. for me, you know, I'm out in California. We waited a long time for opening back up. And some places actually still are closed, like San Francisco.
Yeah.
And I saw a lot on the news of people protesting for haircuts.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah.
you remember that? Did you experience
Yeah.
that?
Well, we didn't experience that.
Uh-huh.
We are one of like the top hair salons in the city. So a lot of our guests kind of understood. Now there were some people who, and I think the first week we were scheduling it, our front desk staff came into the salon, but we actually weren't open. And there was a funny story where there was a lady who came and she wrote out a sign and took it and sat in the window of the salon with all of her appointments listed until they booked them. So she's like, I need my hair done. Because people were calling on the phone and couldn't get through. You know, we have 3 or 4 phone lines, but when you've got thousands of people calling in to try to make appointments, you're immediately put to voicemail or it's a busy signal or something like that. So she drove to the salon, noticed that the girls were in there and said, here's my sign, here's where I want my appointments and what I want done. And she just stood there until it was done. But nobody was protesting like for haircuts or anything like that. There are some salons here that aren't doing blow dries. And I don't know if you're not doing blow dries out there in California or not. But we were okay with it. So as a hair colorist, it's hard to not blow dry the hair and see, what the end result looks like, especially when you're toning and things like that. So we just keep the mask on, and because I wear glasses, I don't have to do a face shield or anything like that. So, but so far so good, and we haven't had any challenges with that.
Yeah. Okay. That's
Mhm.
that's that's good. I mean, when I saw that, I was like, I mean, I had a lot of feelings about it, but to me, it was just like, that is the power of our industry. That is the effect that we have on people. And it's absolutely so, so special.
Yeah.
And it was one of the catalysts for me to start this project back up.
Yeah.
And I want to have those conversations of like shedding light on just like how powerful a hairstylist is, or just like getting your nails done, or just like being in a spa. Like that is absolutely so incredible that
Yeah.
it had that impact,
Well,
right?
the relationship that we have with guests are amazing because, these are people that you've had sometimes the longest relationship with. They've had a relationship with you sometimes longer than their own marriage, So
Yeah.
it's like a marriage that you're having with them. So you go through everything that they go through, from the birth of their children to their children graduating to them getting married, and just all of those big moments, you become a part of that. So for them, it is like you say, that's what's powerful, is that what we hold, they hold us in a very high regard, you know. And I always tell people, anytime a person moves away, the 3 things that they look for or are hardest to find are a church, a doctor, and a hairstylist, because those are the people that you've had the longest relationship with. I had a guest too, her and her husband moved to Michigan, and Michigan wasn't open yet. And it had been almost 3 months. She called me and said, can we come in for appointments? I was like, absolutely. They drove 5 hours to come get their hair cut and colored. And then with their dogs in the car, because they couldn't leave the dogs at home. And then drove 5 hours back just to get service. So it's like, we do hold a lot of power. We do hold a lot of power. Yeah.
What do you feel like people get wrong about the industry?
That we're not smart.
Say
that
more.
that we don't that we're not intelligent. Like all we know is how to cut hair. Well, cutting hair is a science. Coloring hair is a science, I always joke and tell people I have a PhD. And they're like, you do? I'm like, yeah, I'm a professional hairdresser. But you have to think of, that's always the misconception. And I, by no means, I could have gone to do something else. I was bent on going to college and becoming an attorney. Not that I'm not smart. I feel like I'm very smart. but my passion just led to something else. I found that this was one industry, despite having COVID-19, this was one industry where um, you really can't be laid off from work. You will always have a job, um, be it at a big salon, be it at a smaller location, or doing it by yourself. You're always going to have a job because of this skill set, but a lot of these corporate jobs, you look at, they're not always, long standing. So I think the misconception a lot of people think about us is that, oh, there wasn't anything else that you could do. I'm like, yeah, there's tons of things I could have done, but this is where my passion lie, you
Where do
know?
you think that judgment comes from? Because every single person I've talked to, and including myself, have that same story. Where does that come from?
I think it comes from old school mentality to where when you graduate high school, you have to go to college. You have to go to college and get a degree. And I think that's just the makeup of a lot of families, and that's the foundation. And that is laid out from generation to generation. I personally went to school and then ended up not liking it. And then later on, I got a degree in medical coding and billing, and it's maybe I'll do it. But this was a job that I love, and I applaud all these young girls who, after high school, go directly into hair school because they're looking at it as a career. This is a career, and I think a lot of people have a misconception that people can't make this a career. I'm like, yeah, you can. I was watching a TV show the other day. Um, Johnny Wright, he is a hairstylist. He was Michelle Obama's hairstylist. And he said, this is what I chose to do. And look where it led him, in the White House. He's in the White House doing hair. And then you look at all these other hairstylists that are global artists that are creating brands, that are opening up all of these salons. There's a lot to do within this industry. You just have to be able to put your foot forward and say, this is what I want to do. And then just make it that. But if you just want to remain and stay behind the chair, by all means, do that. Nobody's saying that you have to go big or go home. That's fine. You can still stay small. Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much room to make it be whatever you want it to be.
Absolutely. And I almost thought that for me, I wanted to be on the stage and do all this stuff. And that stemmed from me modeling and being on the stage modeling. And I was like, God, I want to do all this platform work with hair. And I was like, no. I said, my passion came from education. I was like, I like teaching the masses because I was an institute instructor for 2 years at the Aveda Institute here in Cincinnati. And the only reason I decided to kind of step away from the salon and do that was because there was no texture curriculum. And I wanted all of these students who actually were coming into our salon being hired on as assistants. They had no education on textured hair. And I'm like, why is that? So my point was to go to the school and create something and to teach these kids about textured hair. Now, when I was there for 2 years, I kind of left there and then I went back into the salon because I really missed that atmosphere. And then some of the students that I taught came to work for us. And some of my coworkers were saying, Tracy, this group of students that you taught, they know so much more about textured hair than the other group. I said, yeah, because I taught them. I said they didn't have a curriculum. So now that we're bringing it into the forefront, we're not going to have that problem. So I think that is just the most exciting thing, especially for these students, is that they're getting a little bit more education. And especially if they're coming straight out of high school and they're wanting this as a career, now their palette is going to be expanded. They're going to have so much more in their toolbox. So I think that's great.
So exciting. What is education going to be like with COVID? Is there like how does that work now?
We've been doing a lot of virtual education,
Uh-huh.
which is fine. We can do that. We also did a book club, and there's a book called The Hair Story, which just goes through the process of hair from how it originated, Black hair, from the 1800s all the way up to kind of now. And I found the book to be so fascinating. And I was living through it because I was that child of the 70s with the afro and then went to a relaxer in the 80s, you know. So you go through all these transitions of Black hair care. But I think it's things like that, the book club, virtual classes, texture talking, just getting on like this, a Zoom call, and just talking texture. Not necessarily do you have to do a hands-on, but I think just the education portion, because I think that's the most important,
Okay.
because you don't want to have a person come into your salon or sit in your chair that is a new guest and you didn't know that they had textured hair, and you look very dumbfounded because you're like, I don't know what to do. And you don't want to send them away. And that's the thing. But if you exude that confidence and you talk that talk and you know what to do, that you may have a guest for life. So I think, you know, virally and all of these viral education classes and things like that are fantastic for everybody.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you looking forward to in your career?
Oh, 25 more years maybe. I think I just want to make a big impact, and I think I've been doing that. I've been planting tons and tons of seeds throughout the years, especially in the last 10 years. Just moving forward with Aveda and doing, you know, things like this, like bringing the texture curriculum. So I, you know, maybe in a few years I may be a business owner. I don't know. Maybe I may open my own salon. Maybe I may open my own education center. You know, I don't know. So I just think the possibilities are endless. I still love what I do. I don't think I'm slowing down being behind the chair. I'm still excited to do that work. So I'm just taking it one day at a time, and we'll see where it leads to.
Great.
Yeah.
Yay, I'm excited to know you now and just see where you end up and what
Yeah,
you who you educate and you know what you end up doing.
absolutely.
Pretty
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. And I lived in San Francisco for 10 years. Did I tell you that?
You did not tell me that. Were you
Lived
doing
there for
hair?
no, that's where I was modeling. I was just
Oh,
modeling.
okay.
Yeah, so it was 10 years in San Fran. My brother currently lives in LA, and so does my best friend.
Okay.
So I'm on the West Coast quite often, or was before COVID. But I'm usually heading out that way like 2 or 3 times a year just to visit them and hang out. And I still consider it my home. You know,
Sure.
here for so long, and I still know the area and things like that. So I miss it. I miss it.
Well, maybe we can hang out sometime.
Yes, I would love that. And get deeper conversations.
I know. So fun. All right, Tracy, we're going to create your beauty statement. And
Okay.
so basically, I'm going to just read a statement, like, and it's
Sure.
like fill in the blank.
Okay.
It can be as long or as short as you want. And this is what I'm going to use with your photo on the website as just like the digital. That's what was in the gallery.
Okay.
Okay, so beauty to me is
Powerful. To have the power to change someone's life, I think is amazing.
the beauty industry means to me.
Change and growth. I think it's ever changing, but every time it changes, you just grow into something else. So I think it's just ever changing, and I think as salon professionals, we just grow with it.
What I would like people to know about the beauty industry is
That hmm, that it's fun, it's exciting. Um, we're intelligent, smart people. We love what we do. We're day makers. So this industry is very impactful to everyone, even after seeing what it did with COVID, how people are like, I got to get a haircut. So I think that's awesome.
and last one, I am beautiful because
I am beautiful because I am a strong, Black, resilient, caring, and impactful woman.
There's been multiple times where I've just like teared up a little bit through this interview, and I'm not even kidding, just so filled with gratitude for you and your time. I mean, just you saying yes to me and my little project.
Yeah. I had talked about it with my daughter. I said, I want to do this because I think I have a voice and I want my voice to be heard. So I was on board with it 100%.
Thanks, Tracy.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Enjoy your day.